Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. We give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for sparing our lives to this moment. We pray accept our ibadat. Ameen. We are welcome back to another edition of the Nahw and Sarf class, and we shall continue on al-mamnوع min al-sarf. So in previous classes, we defined what mamnوع min al-sarf is to us, and then we said that there are those nouns that do not take tanween, and when they are supposed to be majrur, they take fatha with majrur. As majrur, they take fatha. So those are mamnوع min al-sarf, and we mentioned those conditions that certain nouns are going to be for them to be what? To be mamnوع min al-sarf. Now today, inshallah, we are going to be looking at the situations where mamnوع min al-sarf can take kasrah with jarru. So when it is in majrur state, when it will what? Take kasrah. So that is what we are going to be looking at today. So, generally we said, for example, let's take madaris as an example. Madarisu, it does not take tanween because this is one of the shapes of sighatu mutal jumu'ah that we did. So 2, 2. So that means it will not take tanween because it is mamnūع min al-sarf. Now, if it is in a reference state, if it is in jarru state, marartu, bimadarisa. So we have marartu bimadarisa. Why? Because it is mamnūع min al-sarf. So the kasrah will not be there in majrur state, to be fatha. So fatha will represent the kasrah in majrur state. Now the first condition is that إذا كان مسبوقا بأل, if any of those nouns that we have mentioned, any of them takes what? Alif and lam. When any of them takes alif and lam, it's going to take jaru with kasrah. So it won't be fatha anymore. So if we have marartu, B, and I add alif and lam here now. So this will change from madarisa to what? Madarisi. Because of what? The alif and lam. So that's the first case. So anytime you add alif and lam to those nouns that we have concluded that they are supposed to take fatha with jaru, when we add alif and lam to them, then they take kasrah with jaru. That's the first case. Then the second case is idha kana mudofan. So when it is now mudof, when it is also mudof, then it will not take what? It will not take fatha, but it will take kasrah that it's supposed to take instead. It will return back to the normal in-rob shape that we know, that doma for rafun, fatha for nasbu, and kasrah for jaru. So that is what will happen to you. So another example, marartu bimadarisa, bimadarisil madina, because this is what? This is mudof. You can see this is mudof. The mudof and mudof really is madarisul madinati. So when you add B, madaris is supposed to take what? Jaru. And now because madaris is now mudof, then it will take jaru with kasrah, not with fatha, like we have said in previous classes. So just two cases. Generally, our mamnūع min al-sarf do not take kasrah with jaru, they take fatha instead. But then when we add alif and lam to those nouns, or they are what? Mudof. When we add alif and lam, or they become what? Mudof. That is when they now become we now do the normal i'rab for them as majrurun bil kasri, majrurun bil kasrati. So that is that about jaru mamnūع min al-sarf bil kasra. So just two conditions. Alif إذا كان مسبوقا بأل, that is when we add alif and lam to it, it will take what? Kasrah with jaru. إذا كان مضافا, when it is mudof, to also what take Kasrah bijar. So let's just quickly look at the examples. Salamtu ala tilmizi al-asbaqi. Salamtu ala tilmizi al-asbaqi. So salamtu, I said taslim, define lista mutaharika. Ala tilmizi. Tilmizi here is the majrur and it's taking the kasra. So now al-asbaq is sifa. It's sifa to what? Tilmiz. Asbaq is what? Sifa to tilmiz. And we know that when something is sifa, when something is an adjective, it takes the same i'rab with what it's qualifying. So al-asbaqi, we take the same i'rab as what? As tilmiz. So it's supposed to be majrur. Now we can see the kasra clearly. Why? Because al-asbaq is one of the shapes of mamnu min as-sarf in sifa. If you remember, إذا كان على وزن أفعل. Af'alu is one of the shapes we mentioned under sifa. So this is the shape, asbaku, that's the shape. But now it has taken what? Alif and lam, and is sifa to this tilmiz, that is majrur. That means it's going to also be what? Majrur. Now because it's taking alif and lam, then we give it the kasra it's supposed to take. Then next example, bil madarisi tarqal umam. Bil madarisi tarqal umam. With learning platform or with schools, tarqal umam, the community grows. With schools, our community grows. So it is when you notice that in places that we have no education, no learning place, there are no learning places, that is where you see that the crime rates are usually high, because they do not have schools. So bil madarisi tarqal umam. So umam here, madaris is what we are looking at. Madaris is the noun taking majrur bil ba, and it's supposed to be mamnu min as-sarf because of the shape. Two here, two here. But then we have alif and lam already. We have alif and lam. So that is the rule. When we add alif and lam to that noun, then the majrur bil fatha becomes majrur bil kasrati, that is supposed to be. Then another one here, taribtu min al asafir. Exhilarated by the birds, maybe through their singing or any other thing. So min is the word arfu jar here, and the asafir is supposed to be what? Majrur. So you can see there is fatha here. That is clearly a mistake because it is taking what? Alif and lam here. So this is supposed to be what? Taribtu min al asafiri. So because it is what? Taking alif and lam. Then yaqillu al-ma'u bis-sarrahi. Yaqillu al-ma'u bis-sarrahi. Water is little in desert. Water is what? Little in the what? In the desert. So as-sarrahu is taking alif and lam. That is why it is what? It is taking jaru with what? It's kasra. That's the first condition. When we see alif and lam attached to the noun, then it overrides the rule that we had for mamnu min as-sarf. The rule that what? That when it is majrur, it will take fatha. So when it takes alif and lam, it overrides that rule. Then majrur takes the normal kasra it's supposed to take. Then idha kana mudafan. When it is mudaf, when the noun that we have concluded that it is mamnu min as-sarf before, when it is what? When it is mudaf, it becomes what? Majrur bil kasrati also. So asnaitu ala asbaqil la'ibin. I praise the victorious or the winner of the players. So this is what? The mudaf here. Mudaf of la'ibin. That is why it is taking what? Jar with kasra and not fatha. Then tasirul qawafilu bi sahra'il arabi. The convoy or caravan passes through the what? The desert of the Arab. The convoy or caravan passes through the what? The desert of the Arab. So Sahara from the shape fa'ala'u. So this also becomes majrur bil kasrati. Why? Because it is mudaf. You have to recognize the formation. So if it is mudaf, it also take kasra. Then surirtu min asafiril hadiqati. Surirtu min asafiril hadiqati. I'm pleased. I walked by the ansfur, birds of the garden. So ansfur, the plural is what? Asafir. And here also it is majrur bil kasra. Why? Because it is mudaf. So those two rules, they apply to every of the categories that we mentioned. So as long as the noun takes what? Alif and lam, or it is mudaf in the context we are talking about, then it becomes majrur bil kasrati and not bil fathati. So that is where we are going to end al-mamnu' min as-sarf. Al-mamnu' min as-sarf, they are those nouns that do not take tanween, they are ghayru munawwan, and also they take jaru with fatha. That is, they come in majrur state with fatha. We see fatha on it instead of kasra. Then they have their different conditions of being mamnu' min as-sarf in different categories. We have in alam, we have ajamij, we have in sifa, and we have in other shapes like that. Then now there are two situations that they can become majrur bil kasrati, and that is what we have mentioned earlier. إذا كان مسبوقا بأل, when they have al with them, when they are preceded by al, that is when we join alif and lam, so that's now, then it becomes majrur bil kasrah. Then idha kana mudafan, and when the noun itself is a mudaf, then it is what? Is majrur bil kasrah. So let's take note of those rules. Inshallah, we are going to stop here for tonight. Don't forget to like and share the video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.